Welcome, everyone. If you're just joining me, this is the second weekend. I'm launching or attempting this live testing channel. Hopefully, the next time I run this at 7:30 this evening, I'll actually have a guest. So I'll be doing live pair testing. This is the second weekend with someone else, but I need to pause my. Actually mute my channel off Twitch, or else you're going to get feedback and hear from me again. So that's I've got to fix that one. There we go. So if this is the first time you're watching this channel, I do live testing on this channel. Today I'm going to focus on testing Mozilla, the browser. It's probably one of the most widely used open source browsers out there. I'm going to go through some of the features of Firefox, and we're going to apply some exploratory testing principles to a browser to see how we can figure out how to test it. If you have any questions, just feel free to pop them in the chat room. I've got a Paint terminal up over here where I might do some, I might take some notes. Because I find doing mind maps and sketch notes can really help with trying to analyze your thinking patterns. So here we go. When I launched Firefox, there was an update about privacy. So I've just tested that the link navigates me to a website, and that seems to be fine. What is this about? Control trackers, your own way with enhanced tracking protection from Firefox. Have you ever been using the internet and, or at least having a conversation with your mate, and you start talking about a product, and then you feel like technology is listening and tracking every word you say? Now, that's not necessarily the case, but certainly it can feel a bit creepy. Like you're just talking to your mate about this new razor that's come out, and all of a sudden the advertising is everywhere. It's tracking you all over the internet, and you kind of think your phone was listening on the conversation, and then Google sold all your data. Doesn't quite happen that way. The technology is a little bit more challenging than that, and also privacy is a thing. Companies don't tend to do this type of stuff intentionally. It might be a little accidental, but also your browsing, it's usually based off your browsing history. And you're correlated to that type of demographic who likes this type of product, and you're more likely to talk about that product with your friends, and you just draw the connections in your own brain, even though the technology is not really doing that. So that seems to be the motivation behind this article from Firefox, which is controlling your tracking. The way tracking works in a browser is they'll use things like cookies, and they're not the tasty kind of cookies. You can't really eat these cookies, but your browser will store something in a cookie. Actually, let's see what type of cookies Firefox has stored for me. Where would I find my cookies? It might be under options. So potentially one way to explore any type of tool is to go through all of the menu items. If you went through all of your menus systematically, you could generate different testing ideas. I can't seem to spell very well, but we're exploring cookies, and I'm just trying to find out where I would find my cookies. So probably would go to options. Would it be under privacy and security? We've got content blocking. I might make this a little larger. Oh, third-party cookies. There we go. So we've got trackers. That doesn't allow me to see my cookies. Oh no, there we go. Stored cookies. They're using, wow, nearly a gig of disk space. Huh, that's a lot. Keep them until they expire, until Firefox is closed. Okay, so you can enable an option to delete your cookies after Firefox is closed. So we could test cookie manipulation, and we could expire. We could delete our cookies. If we had syncing available, we could test the syncing. So if I had Firefox installed on my mobile, another test idea is to test some cookie syncing across mobile devices. So if I logged into a website on the desktop and I said, remember me, the website will embed a little cookie into my browser. And then if cloud syncing was working, the next time I log into that website on my mobile, it won't necessarily remember that I've logged in, but it should remember my password or details, and I should be able to share the cookie that way. But we could test things like when Firefox is closed, a cookie is expired. Cookies can also store your login sessions. And so that's why sometimes if you come back to a site after a day or two and you have to re-log in, it's because the cookie's timed out, or the website's just implemented some slightly different security practices. So let's have a look at what's in my cookies. There's an old cookie from Meetup. I got 6 cookies. I wonder, can I can remove? What happens, so if I go to Meetup now, does it remember my logged in state? Let's see. Is there something? No, I'm not logged in. So I guess it might remember my logged in state. The site seems to be a bit slow. I don't know if my internet is down at the moment, but or actually I could do a speed test to test if it's my internet connection, or if there's some performance issues with the Meetup site. So let's do a quick little speed test. And I just have really poor internet. If you're able to watch this stream, kudos to you. Hopefully my upload is a little better than my download. Let's check uploads, please. Okay, uploads look a little intermittent, but almost infinitely better than the downloads. Look at that poor download rate. This is why the internet in Australia sucks. Yes. My internet speed is very slow. And this is Sunday afternoon at about 1:30 p.m. here in the land down under. That is terrible. I'm supposed to be on the fiber network. That's a terrible internet speed. No wonder why Meetup was taking a little bit long to load. I think I get better speeds on my mobile using 4G. Anyway, there's me ranting and raving about slow fiber internet. When was my last cookie, my most recent cookie? 5 minutes ago. Oh, so Mozilla had some of its own cookies. What happens if can I do anything with those cookies other than just remove them? Yeah, I can't seem to view them or do anything. There's an interesting thing here that the Mozilla website and www have 2 different amounts of cookies. Google has lots of cookies on my machine. It's probably all the advertising tracking. Yes, Google's tracking everything. Okay, so we could do some testing around cookies. What I might what can we do? So I have to update Firefox at some point, but I wonder what type of testing we could do around the update. Is there some sort of setting we can do beforehand, and then when we update, can we check if that setting persists? Yeah, let's try that. So let's actually cookies and sites. We'll delete our cookies after. We'll keep them until Firefox is closed. And what I'm going to test is when I upgrade that customization persists when I do an update. This is often an overlooked element during the dev process. I wonder if there's another setting we can change just to check the upgrade. We could probably set up a VPN. We could do a custom VPN or proxy server as a setting in Firefox. I'll take a note of that. Probably won't do that just yet because it might take a little bit of time to set up. But that's another thing we could test doing the update. And see if it remembers my VPN settings. That could be an interesting test. I think that's all that I would. I could install a custom SSL certificate if I wanted to, and see if that persisted in the upgrade too. That's a good point, Chid. Saved credentials before updating. So saved credentials. I think, where are they? I just have to find them now. I don't think I actually have any saved history. I could just clear out my history or change preferences. I will admit, Firefox is not my main browser. I tend to use Chrome, so I've logged into a lot more things in Chrome, so I have a bit more history there. So I haven't even logged into a Firefox account. So another thing I could test is that when I've signed in to an old version, and then when I upgrade, I'm still signed in. Or I could even test the account creation right now. Actually, I might do that. How hard is it to create an account on Firefox? I'm going to use a different email. I'm just going to switch over to entering password scene, so you can't see my secret passwords. Just doing a password. I don't want to leak information on the internet. And then I will switch back to my scene. Actually, you can see how long my password is and potentially how old am I? Oh, actually, this is not secret information. I'm going to turn 30 soon this year. Do I want to? No. There we go. Yeah. So if I save, I've now saved credentials, and when I upgrade, we will we'll keep logins, but we'll untick bookmarks. We'll pop in a bookmark, and when we upgrade, see if it disappears. So I am going to, whoops. Oh, I can hear an aeroplane flying overhead. I usually don't hear planes in this part of Sydney. They usually fly over Tempe a bit more often, but I guess that happens. So I'm going to, we're going to add just google.com as a bookmark. I'm not signed in, so there's nothing to, where is bookmarks? I think the command on Chrome is Control K. And I am just trying to do this this monologue of talking and trying to do something else at the same time. I am a little... oh, there we go, bookmarks. Oh, Control D is the shortcut for Control D. We are going to save this in bookmarks. Done. Save to library. But I unticked bookmarks when I logged in. So if we do the, so to update, click the menu, go to About Firefox. There we go. Where are we? Oh, it says verify your account. I guess that's just checking my email, which is another test you can do generally with any sign-up form. You can also test the email in plain text or HTML versions as well. That can discover some differences in consistency of marketing. Sometimes your products might care, sometimes the team might not. So could be worth. So I'm doing About Firefox. About Firefox. Where are we? Is it under more? No. Help? About Firefox. Restart to update. There we go. I can also check that these links go to the correct website. I think there's bots you can use that can help test for 404 links. I should actually explore some bots and testing at some point, just running something against a website and it'll give you a list of all the links that are broken, or that can be a quick test to run at some point, but I'm not familiar enough with the tools today. I think I'll do a bit of homework before I do that. So apparently I've upgraded. Has it remembered? Actually, technically it has remembered. Bookmarks. Recently bookmarked. Okay, I don't know if that setting for maybe it's a syncing setting. Maybe I'm getting a little mixed up with the wording of things that I'm using. But when I did update, it remembered all the websites I had open at the moment, and I wasn't logged into anything. I'll close that one down because that was a terrible speed test. And I can't really obviously tell. So it didn't remember that I had logged in. Or it's just not verified. So I'm going to close that down, close all tabs, and relaunch Firefox and see what happens. So often relaunching software can also find, my notes are quite messy, please excuse me. Relaunching software can be an interesting way to find bugs. Maybe is your state being remembered, or a whole bunch of different things. So I'm still getting this check up the front saying that I'm using the latest version. I guess if I was using an older version, potentially doing a rollback test could be interesting. I think to be able to do that with Firefox, because Firefox is open source, there's nothing stopping me checking out the code repository, checking out a few older or an older stable branch and rerunning it. But I feel like that's maybe just a little too involved for what I want to do today. I wanted to go through cookie testing with this one. I can't really do the syncing too easily. I haven't set up technology to be able to share my mobile screen with this selection. We didn't really test if they expired or deleted, but we wanted to test if that persistence of removing, only keeping cookies until Firefox is closed. So where did I go into? It was in options, and it was it privacy and security, and we've got our cookies. We can clear the data, but it doesn't look like we deleted much after. So our permissions, our so I need to find where I was before. Maybe I should have taken a screenshot to be able to remind myself where some of this information was. That just takes me to a learn more. And unfortunately, you just have to put up with my really, really slow internet if you are watching this. And so the cookies is actually back to 0. I didn't actually put anything in there. It's just the cached content was the size. Okay. I hadn't saved any. I apparently had saved some logins. Apparently I've saved my GitHub login. So if I go to GitHub, am I actually logged in? Whoops. Again, I apologize. The internet in Australia is pretty shitty. It has remembered my username and password, but my login state hasn't persisted. No, that's a sign up form. It's just a form pre-fill. Okay, so something's happening. Something's being remembered, and so if I look at my saved logins, and if I remove that one, and then go to GitHub again, will it still be there? No. Okay. So the at least removing the logins from the logins and passwords seemed to apply straight away. I didn't have to close Firefox and relaunch it. If I did have to close it and relaunch it, that might indicate maybe that user flow wasn't necessarily all that well thought out, but it seems to be fine there. So if you're just coming back online or just checking in here, the purpose of this session is we're trying to apply some exploratory testing ideas to how to test a browser like Firefox. At the moment, we've only really gotten through maybe doing some cookie testing and testing the update path. I'm trying to take some notes in Paint, but my I think my handwriting is a bit hard to read sometimes. We've mentioned how we could potentially test with bots to explore a website and return a list of all the broken links or all the links that return 404 pages. I might use that as another session for further exploratory testing. There's a whole bunch of settings you could test as well. Mentioned that you could explore each menu item one by one. If you wanted to build up, one of the good things of doing exploratory testing is you can use it for learning. So if you wanted to learn an Explorer product, you could do maybe in a little spreadsheet, write down each menu item, and then as you go into each menu item, you look at all the different things that could be on the screen. Maybe you brainstorm different flows, or you try doing different things. So I could test removing my account. I could test that resending verification, recenter code, or whatnot. So we actually did uncheck bookmarks before we updated, so at least it's still unchecked. But okay, so it is definitely synchronization. I didn't actually read this completely before I unchecked it. So one way to have tested that before doing the upgrade, well, at least we tested that the check persisted over the upgrade. To check that the bookmarks didn't synchronize, I would have logged into my mobile app, or I guess I could have gotten up a VM and installed or gotten on a laptop with Firefox. I think mobile probably would have been the more easier situation to emulate. Maybe checked that a bookmark did synchronize. Say I'm going to try and draw out a new test. Yeah, we'll save this as actually 5 for now, and I'll rename it later. So if I wanted to test bookmark synchronization, if I'm on, so say my desktop, we'll say WebD for web desktop, we add bookmark 1. And then on mobile, we would see the bookmark. Alright. And then maybe on the website browser, we would untick bookmarks. We'd untick bookmark syncing. Then we would add bookmark 2. Actually, a precondition we'd have before we do this type of testing would be signed in on, oops, not one, on web and mobile. So we would have to have our account signed in on both web and mobile. So on web, we would add bookmark 1. On mobile, we would see that bookmark 1 is now synced. On web, we would untick the bookmark syncing and we'd add bookmark 2. Then on mobile, we could check that only bookmark 1 was still visible. Actually, what would we expect there? Would we expect both bookmarks to now be unsynced? That is an interesting question. Would we expect to just see bookmark 1? I definitely expect not to see bookmark 2 on the mobile, but I don't know if bookmark 1 would still be there because we've unticked bookmark synchronization. Maybe the mobile browser still has bookmark 1 as it's in its browser cache. I don't know if it would actually remove bookmark 1. But then we can also test that the sync settings on mobile is also disabled. We could also test that if we add bookmark 3 on mobile and check on web, that no syncing occurred in back that direction as well. So just talking about my thought process in how I might potentially test bookmark syncing if it was a new feature I was working on in a team, at least from a rough level exploratory testing, trying to explore and learn about how this product works. So you could apply the same type of logic with a whole bunch of different settings. I'm not too sure why these ones are grayed out. They look like they could be customizable, or at least untickable, but I don't know in what state that these can become editable. I think my first guess would be once I've verified the account and once I've signed on to maybe 2 different devices, these options might become available. Maybe I have to untick his. Why is history untickable? I can tick. Wasn't I able to modify these? Actually, this is a confusing UI. This section here. I might raise it as like a potentially minor bug. I think I need to verify this account before I can edit these. I was able to edit these on account creation, but it seems that even this one that looks like I should be able to select it has gone, nah, computer says no. But that's, or at least not necessarily computer says no, it's just code says no. I can't even right click inspect some of these things. Sometimes maybe it's because I've got that field selected. Pretty sure. Can I tab? No, I can't even tab. Can't even tab onto these options. That's potentially an accessibility bug. Who knows? A lot of web users might not be navigating the web with a keyboard and mouse, and might just use, well, they might be using a keypad, or they might only have limited mobility. They might only have a couple of different options like tab and left click to navigate the web. But yeah, I can't tab onto a lot of things here. So for example, if you go to a website like this one, you should expect to be able to tab through each button or thing you can click on, preferably in a logical order that makes sense to someone who can't necessarily see your website. So if you go from this field, you can't seem to tab onto text. And then cookies and stuff, and it just keeps going. After a certain point, you'd expect it to get back to the start. Yep, there we go, we're back at the start now. So if someone was had some accessibility accommodations and they weren't able to tab onto particular fields on your website, it can really impact how they experience your site. So there's just a demo of how you can easily test some features. I think we'll go through accessibility testing on web, I think a bit more detail on another stream. If you would like to see it at the next one, or feel free to let me know. What are some other things we could apply some exploratory testing ideas to when we're doing something like a browser? I guess there's extensions and themes. We could have installed a plugin beforehand, before the update, installed it and checked that it was still there and still worked as close as possible. I think one of the more common plugins that I think people tend to use is like the ad blocker. I personally don't use any ad blocker technology because content creators out there still need to be, I feel like they still deserve to be paid for the time that they invest in creating content. So I'll try and opt in for options where I can support content creators in other ways. For example, the main reason why I signed up to YouTube was to get rid of ads, but also to support content creators on there. From what I've read from other articles, I don't know if content creators still get a fair deal out of that. But yeah, ads can be annoying, but I don't install anything to block them intentionally, because that's where a lot of web revenue money is made these days. I don't think I have anything else that I'd like to explore with at the moment. I think that half an hour, 45 minutes is usually a good time box if you're trying to focus on doing something like learning, or if you have a particular scenario you really want to test, or you might want to call it a test charter, which is often used in exploratory testing. But it's generally a time-boxed exercise where you really focus on a particular area. Say you wanna try and expose your backend through doing SQL injection or something like that. You might brainstorm a bunch of test charters that can help guide your exploratory testing, but you'll generally time-box them. It might be good to pair with another tester for that, or another developer for that half an hour, 45 minutes to really shake out that charter exercise. Sometimes it might be you just want to do a bit of smoke testing or sanity testing because your environment has just been deployed or upgraded, and so you might have a little checklist of high-risk areas that you'd like to focus on just for 10 or 15 minutes. And then while you're exploring, if you see any other quirky behaviors, you might give yourself a bit more flexibility with going down a slightly divergent path so you might stick to a bit of a checklist when you're going through your testing, but you might go, hey, if I notice anything odd that sparks my curiosity, I might follow and lead it down the path. So in summary, we've just applied some really basic exploratory testing techniques to a browser like Firefox. We've done brainstorm a bit of cookie testing and maybe some syncing testing. If you have any ideas on what you would like to see tested next, feel free to reach out on Twitter or Twitch or whatnot. If you search Bug Hunter Sam somewhere, you'll probably find me. And have fun testing. Thank you.